Hello everybody, this is Henry here from the New Zealand Everyday Architect. And in today's presentation, we'll be talking about what is it really like to work in architecture after you graduate. And we'll be talking about some of the differences between being at university and working life in architecture. There are quite a few differences between university versus being in a practice. University, I tend to find, has a strong focus on design. And when you're working in a practice, we'll be turning those designs into real buildings. So my goal is to give you a better picture of what to expect day to day on your first job. Early on in your job, it's likely you will be put to focus on what I call the back end of architecture. And your first project will likely be a small project, or you'll be working on part of a larger project as a team. The back end of architecture is a lot of what you do not see in the magazines. It's more of a technical focus on the back end, and this includes learnings including building codes, technical documentation, detailing, and likely you'll spend much of your time and your career working up these skills and producing these technical drawings to allow a project to be well understood and built. So for building codes and standards, at university, you will likely have a light introduction to them. There are a lot of building codes and standards in New Zealand. Starting off in your job, you'll be spending a lot of time learning them and using them as they shape almost everything that you do. So the building codes are the framework for every project, and as you can see below, they cover a lot of criteria from moisture, fire, accessibility, plumbing, energy efficiency, and much more. Don't be too daunted by this because you will pick these up over time. I wanted to cover one of the main building codes that you'll likely focus on as you start your career, and that is E2AS1 external moisture, which covers cladding and waterproofing requirements. Below, I've just shown some examples of what is in the code, and they will show you a lot of details and technical documentation on how to achieve a watertight and waterproof building. And this is especially a big focus of working in New Zealand. So on the bottom left, you see a door threshold detail. In the middle, you see a ridge and hip flashing. And then on the right, you see a socket flashing. This is just some of what you will find in the document. Another standard that you'll likely be focused on is NZS 3604 timber frame buildings. And this is the main standard for residential construction in New Zealand. It allows for buildings to be built up to 2 stories. And in this document, it will introduce you to a lot of the components that are within many of the houses in New Zealand, from bearers, joists, rafters, connections, and understanding and studying this document is quite foundational to a lot of the work that you will likely be doing, especially if you're working in the residential space, and it gives you a good grasp of everything that's involved in a building. So CAD, as I say, will become your new best friend. You'll likely be using computer-aided design or your CAD software in 90%, if not every day, in your practice. At university, you would have likely picked up a bit of ArchiCAD or Revit, and we'll be moving from making those models at university to actually real-life construction documentation during your time at the practice. Initially, as we mentioned before, there'll be an early focus on detailing, drafting, accuracy, and learning good practices in CAD, which, if you learn them early on, will help you throughout the rest of your career. And you will see a lot of firms are hoping for this skill set to develop really well in every single graduate that they employ, as this is our new drawing board and we spend most of our time on the software. So early on, you'll be working on a lot of working drawings and details. This is what I kind of call the daily ritual. And you'll be learning what is in working drawings that the council require, that the builders require, and making them very clear and concise so that you can get a building built. There will be a lot of coordinating information during this process, and it's something that you will learn along the way. You will get a working introduction to the consent processes in New Zealand. So there's resource consent, which covers the district plan rules for what can be built in your region or your city, and what the council have planned for how they want the city to grow. The other process is building consent, and this covers the building and what is actually built, and you will familiarize yourself with these processes as you progress your career. In your job, you'll be working with a lot of different people, and likely you'll be on the phone, on the email, calling up clients, builders, suppliers, and communication is a huge part of the process. It may sound a little bit scary at first, but you will get used to the process. Getting on the phone is a daily part of architecture. A lot of your first job involves really understanding what is in the building process. And architecture really is a lot of admin, and hopefully now you won't be that surprised. From navigating rules and regulations, coordination, project management, communication, you will realize that even the simplest building takes a lot of work. And the design and creativity is really built into this process, but understanding a lot of the technical and the back-end work will make you a better architect in the future. It is also what is required to get a building built in New Zealand. Some architecture firms will put you on the front end of design, but likely most firms will want you understanding the back end as soon as possible so that you can really grasp the whole process. From there on, they may give you the confidence to lead your own projects in the practice. Now, all of this may sound quite daunting at first, but understand that you are not alone, that every graduate starts off in the same position that you may be starting off in, and that you'll get guidance along the way, and it will eventually become second nature. Yes, architecture involves a big process and a lot of back-end work, but the satisfaction comes in when you understand everything that's involved in a building and can follow the task all the way through. So don't forget to ask a lot of questions at work, because the more questions you ask, the quicker you'll learn and develop. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this presentation has given you a bit more clarity on what to expect on your first job after graduating university in architecture. If you have any questions or any future topics that you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments below. I'm Henry from the New Zealand Everyday Architect, and I hope to see you next time.